If this starts to work. Yep. Okay, now what about you? Come on, YouTube. You can do it. There you go, buddy. Oh, okay. Hang on a second. There we go. Okay, we got that. This is all set. Got my coffee. I think everything is okay. Hope everyone's doing well this morning. Let's see here. We've got greetings from the UK, South Africa, rural Wisconsin, southern England, sunny southern England, nice. Got Australia, Essex, Akron, Ohio, Surrey. Let's see here. Cincinnati, Albuquerque, Southeast Georgia, where Mother Nature finally decided to turn on the air conditioning. Nice, good to hear. Chilly in Cleveland, too. Today it's going to hit about 70 Fahrenheit, which will be nice. Maybe 71. I'm going to have to mow the lawn, but, you know, it's better than mowing the lawn in 95. So, Dreary, D.C. We've got Derbyshire. We've got Hudson, Illinois, Spokane, Washington, Manchester, Edinburgh, Portland, Abu Dhabi. Nice. Winneconne, Wisconsin. Basically the same thing. Turkey. Let's see here. What else have we got? Southern California, Poughkeepsie, Rochester, New York, Northern Italy, Northern England, Smoky, California, the Netherlands, Buffalo, Cambridgeshire. I know that you gotta not pronounce it the way it reads. Wyoming, Germany, Nashville, Great Lakes, Costa Rica, Singapore, windy Western Australia. Sorry I missed last night. Glad to make tonight. Well, yeah. I mean, well, for me it's the morning, but I understand you guys are over there. It's a different time. But yeah, absolutely. Sundered Psyche, how you doing? Ireland. Hey, Emily, lurking at work. Sorry I missed the irregulars yesterday. I'll have to watch the replay. Yeah, there were some cat shenanigans. So that's fun too. Let's see here. De Pere, Wisconsin, Woodstock, Illinois, Clearwater, Florida, Czechia, Scotland, Serbia, Manitoba, Sweden, Poland. Nice. Hope everyone's doing well today so far. Like I said, it's sunny and it's going to be it's not warm, but warmer than it's been. It's been a little cool the last couple of days, a little bit autumn, a little bit fall, but it's going to be this week going to start being a little bit warmer. So started streaming 2 minutes ago, apparently. Yep, that sounds about right. 9 a.m. Central Time is when I usually start. So yeah, it's 9:03 right now. So that sounds about right. Good morning from Sterling, Virginia, and enjoying the show while building jungle terrain for use in bolt action. Nice. I decided not to build jungle terrain yesterday. And by jungle terrain, I mean I got that new figure that you can only get at the Warhammer stores, the Sergeant Ripper Jackson, and she's a Catachan, jungle fighter kind of person. And on the model's base, there's like little pieces of jungle terrain and little ferns and all that stuff. And I decided to shave all that stuff off because I don't want to build her that way. She's going to be instead, I think I'm going to put her in black fatigues and put her in a more urban environment just because I like the look of it, I think, a lot better. So that model's a little fiddly, I'm not going to lie. Like, her torso is 3 parts, and then her head is separate, and I don't know. I was kind of surprised for such a new model how she's been a little fiddly to get together, fiddlier than I would expect. Roan says, caught the replay of the irregulars chat yesterday, good one. Work kept me away. Yeah, that'll happen, absolutely. And that's why I'm glad that we've got the reruns, as it were, replays, the VODs as they call them over in Twitchville. A lot of folk from Nashville. I love it here in Nashville. Well, that's good. Munich, Germany, basement bunker in Ohio. I'm painting skills for World Eater and Blades of Corn bases. Nice. There were dog shenanigans in my house yesterday. Puppy sittings. We had 4 mutts, plus the neighbor's dog made a visit. That's a lot of dogs, yeah. Greetings from Finland. Hey, 6 Gunner 86. Converting my Ripper Jackson to Chaos for a Servants of the Abyss kill team leader. Ooh, that's a cool idea. I like that. Yeah, I could see that. That'd be very cool. Yeah, I didn't want to go, like, I don't have any other Catachan models and stuff like that. I might try to work her into maybe a kill team of my regular Imperial Guard, or I might start her off as the sergeant or the leader of a new kill team and have, like, her and a bunch of, I don't know. Like, I was thinking I could get a bunch of the other Catachan, like, style models if I can find them, although they're hard to find. And then, again, not paint them in, like, jungle colors and stuff like that. Make them look a little bit more, like, black, kind of shadow ops a little bit. Yeah, I don't know, though. I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure yet what I'm going to do with that. With the cooler air and the AC off, windows open, we've had loads of cat shenanigans with our 4 cats this morning. Yeah, that'll do that, too. Absolutely. Hello from Peru. Any thoughts on Middle-earth quest for the Ring Bearer? I don't know what that is. So, no, I guess. I haven't kept up completely with that kind of stuff. I'm not sure. Trey Baker says, hello from Japan. Out of curiosity, which Duardin guys are coming to Warcry from the cities of... the Dwarfs. So this is the White Dwarf I picked up yesterday from my local shop. Whoops, went too far. I should probably put a thing in there. The only the only dwarves I see are Ironbeard with Drakefire Pistol and Cinderblast Bomb, Iron Warden with Grudge Hammer Torpedo, Iron Breaker, Iron Drake, and that's it. Yeah, those are all of the dwarfs that are in there. It's not a huge list. I mean, it's, in comparison to, say, like, Rotbringers, the Nurgle Rotbringers, who only have 2 choices in the army. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So there's 18 different possible models in this Hammer Hall list. So that's actually quite a lot in comparison to the other groups, but it's not all of them, obviously. So, yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit, though. Allergies are being jerks to me this morning. But, yeah, let's see here. Middle of getting my Soul Wars set painted up. Nice. Greetings from a Nova Nerd Bunker. Painting Night Haunts and Sigmarines for Warhammer Age of Sigmar Crypt Hunters today. Great little gateway game. I'll have to check that. Oh, yeah, I've heard about that one. That one I've heard about. I'll check that one out. Rabbit Burner says, just ordered Ripper Jackson. Do not have a Catachan army, but figure I could convert to regular Imperial Guard or even Gaunt's Ghosts. Yeah, something like that would be very cool, I think. I'm definitely going to convert her to some degree. Hi from Scotland. I'm spending my day stripping 5-year-old paint off some minis. Probably won't be able to use this toothbrush again. I would suggest you don't. If you with the toothbrush on your models, do not put it into the mouth. That's a pro strat. I would definitely not do that. Morning from Milwaukee. Nice. How you doing? Moderator Matt is in the chat. Read us the menu, Job. Or Job, whatever his name is. Yeah, I will do that totally in a bit. Let's see here. So a set of Iron Breakers should do the trick or dwarf-wise. Yeah, I actually... I was trying to figure out last night what I was going to do to order for this, because basically most of the stuff that's in there, a lot of the stuff that's in there is basically stuff you can only order from their website that has that little symbol. If you ever looked in the GW website, there's like a little kind of reddish maroon circle with a little arrow in it that looks like a mouse clicker, that means this is only available online. You can't get it in stores because they have such low quantities that they don't put it in distribution anymore. Majority of the stuff for Cities of Sigmar is got that little symbol. Most of it. Let me see here. Warcry lists are so darn odd. Yeah, they are. But I like it because I can just use a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But yeah, there are like I said, for Skaven, there's a bunch of different choices. Not 18, but there's a decent amount of choices. And then there are certain armies, like I said, like the Nurgle Rotbringers is basically, you can run Putrid Blight Kings and Puscoil Blight Lords, which is the guy riding the bug. That's it. So, but honestly, I looked at it and I'm like, okay, well, the list is basically 5 Blight Kings and 1 Bug Dude, and that's it. That's 990 or 995 points, something like that. So that's fine. I'm enjoying it. So the Blight Kings are all painted now. I painted them over the last several weeks over on Twitch. Button. So yeah, I've been working on those guys on Twitch. I do Monday nights at 7 p.m. Central and Friday mornings at 10 a.m. Central. So come by and check that out. But like I said, those guys are done. But now the next two, this upcoming Monday night, tomorrow night, and Friday morning, I'll be working on the big bug guy, and maybe another week past that. I don't know. Hopefully, I can get him done faster than that. However, this upcoming Thursday at 9 a.m. Central instead of 10 a.m. Central, I'm also going to be streaming. I'll be streaming for the Virtual Gaming Con. It's an online convention run by the folks over at Board Game Geek, and I will be on from 9 a.m. Central to like noon Central, I think. No. Or is it? I'll be on in the morning. As I think of it now, it's maybe 8 a.m. Central to 11 a.m. Central, which is noon Eastern. I gotta double check. But I'll post about it like on Twitter and places like that. But yeah, I'll be painting some board game miniatures because it's Board Game Geek. So I'll be teaching board gamers generally, hey, this is not so hard to do. You can paint all of these models that come in all of your Cool Mini or Not, Kickstarter games if you want to, and it's not as hard as you think. So I'll be doing that. So just if you're, if it's the work day for you and you want to turn on some Twitch and watch and hang out, feel free to do so. Like if your Twitch folks or if your work folks are cool with it, how that works. Let me see here. Hey, from Colorado, working on Sepulchral Guard, trying to paint as many Underworlds warbands as I can in September and October. Nice. Did you pick up the new Frostgrave 2nd edition? Any thoughts on the rules? Hang on. Yes. And no. I haven't honestly had a chance to really read through it. I flipped through it, but I haven't really read through it yet. So, but I did get to pick up. I ordered from my local shop, and it did finally come in. And yeah, so that was cool. Broke my lower back at work, so not enjoyable painting right now. Wow, that sucks a lot. I can understand that. Yeah, that's not good at all. Greetings from Serbia. Hey, how you doing? Good morning, Uncle Adam. How's your mom doing? She's doing good. She's her leg is healed. She's not even using a cane anymore. She is she's not super keen on this whole COVID thing. I know most people are like really cool on it. They really like it. But she's contrarian. She's not into it. So but yeah, she's been staying safe, and she has gone and done her lunch group. They used to get together and eat, go to restaurants and eat lunch sometimes, like once a week or whatever. Obviously, they're not doing that now, but they have gotten together because the weather's been nice outside, and they stay, 6 feet away apart from each other, and they stop at, fast food or get a sub sandwich on the way in and whatever, and then they all meet at someone's house and sit there in their driveway, and but they're all in their 70s, so they can't hear each other because they're all 6 feet away from each other and they're outside. So it's a little, troublesome, but it is what it is. Sorry, nose itchy. But yeah, so otherwise doing okay though. Yeah. But thanks for asking. I appreciate it. Greetings from Glasgow. Currently working on some old school Necromunda models. Always glad to catch the stream. P.S. Thanks for recommending 28 mag a few years back. Inquisition 28 has become my new obsession. Yeah. And the third volume is coming out real soon, I believe. Yeah, I'm really enjoying like the kind of Inquisition 28 kind of kit bash aesthetic. If you're interested in finding a game that works, that's very simple to use, that works really well with that sort of Inquisition 28 sort of aesthetic, I would tell you to look for a game called Planet 28. You can find it on Wargame Downloads, and probably on the main website. It's Mammoth Miniatures, I think is the name of the company. But yeah, it's a kind of a one-man band. His name is Nick, and he made this cool little game, and I really enjoy it. But it's designed to work with that whole kind of kit bashy, kind of Inquisition 28 sort of style. So you might want to check that out. Some lists, like Light Kings, are underdone for choice. while others, Warrior Chamber Stormcast, just have an insane amount of minute weapon variants. Love the game, but it does bug me. Yeah, I can understand that. Working on Gloomspite Gets Warband. Picked up the Warcry box, Zarbags from Underworld, and some old Grot Scuttlings from Silver Tower. Nice. Yeah, I've got that that same Warcry box of the Gloomspite Gets, and I'm going to use those folks as well for a warband. Let's see here. Watching from Junction City, Wisconsin. Just painted my first set of minis at 32, mostly due to watching this channel. Thanks for the inspiration. Well, glad to hear it. Absolutely, Davis. Hey, from Northampton, England, working on my Bone Reapers army for Age of Sigmar. Nice. About to do a pile of Necromunda Terrain myself, and then Flesh Eater Courts warband. Oh yeah, the zombies and stuff. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I like those guys. Cities of Sigmar was great if GW are kind and allow some of the minis in the game into Warhammer the Old World. Interesting, yeah. Constantly, your Twitch streams happen when I'm driving heavy machinery. I don't think it's safe for me to attempt paying attention to both. Yeah, well, you know, I mean, that's a choice. That's your choice if you want to. Yeah, no, it's not a good idea to operate heavy machinery and listen to me, because I could. Some people get sleepy from my voice. I'm just saying. I've been told. Any thoughts on the new ship game from Mantic, Armada? I saw them post about it. I saw a video, I think. I thought the ships were a lot bigger than they were. I was told yesterday that they're only maybe 2.5, 3 inches long. I thought they were going to be like, I don't know, 6, 7 inches long for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, so, yeah, I don't know. People who are into Man-O-War, I think, are probably like, hey, this is cool. I like that kind of stuff. I was never a big ship-to-ship combat guy. I don't know why. But I'm glad that they're doing it. I think it's cool. Painting my first models for Genestealer Cult, making their skin look correct is so hard. I mean, correct is a... You know, who says what's correct, in my opinion? If you come up with a technique you like, then just stick with that. And if people are like, well, that's not what their skin looks like, they're like, you can be like, well, my Genestealer Cult, they look like this because they landed on a planet that was full of people who were maybe this color, and then after the Genestealer kind of, you know, hybrid it just sort of changed their skin tone to this color, and it's not that color. They're your models. You can do what you want with them, you know. Now, if you're like, I'm having a hard time getting the way that I like, well, that's what you work on trying to improve. But if you're trying to get it so that they match the box art, you don't have to do that. You can make them look the way you want. Made a comeback to 40k after an 18-year hiatus during lockdown. Now my Bringers of Decay are almost 50 models strong. Nice. Good to hear. Have you heard about a new edition of Hero Quest being made by Hasbro? I did hear some news about it. I know I'm a bad person, but I never played Hero Quest. It just never did. I don't know. I'm not sure why. I know a lot of people did, and that's how they got into miniatures and stuff like that. I never did. I did own and play Battle Masters, which was a contemporary as far as like about the same amount of time, like in the same years and whatnot. That I think my parents bought for me, and I liked Battle Masters quite a bit actually at the time, but I never did play Hero Quest, so I don't have the nostalgia for it and all that kind of stuff. You know, it'll be interesting to see what comes out of it. No one's quite sure if they're going to tweak it a lot, or if they're just going to like basically kind of do a reboot, or if they're just going to do a redo where they're just going to make it exactly like it was before, but with, you know, new stuff. New obviously new boards, new box, but not change things particularly. So that's a good question. Have you heard of and have any opinions of Darklands from Mearce Miniatures? No. The name Mearce Miniatures sounds familiar, but that's literally the best I got. I'm sorry, I don't know anything. I haven't heard anything about them. I prefer the old GW Orc aesthetic, so I whipped up a list using the Bone Splitter cards and used some old metal Orc models I had lying around. See, that's what's cool, I think, about a game like Warcry, is you can just kind of do that to some degree. A ship game from Mantic, what's it called? It's called Kings of War Armada. So it's based off of Kings of War stuff, and yeah, it's called Armada. And it's, I think, in pre-order now, or it will soon be in pre-order. They're not doing a Kickstarter with it, which I'm kind of surprised by, actually. What do you think of the Rangers of Shadowdeep? Worth a look? Yeah, like if you like... So, if you like Frostgrave, it's written by the same guy. Rangers of Shadowdeep is cool because it can be played... You can kind of play it single player if you want to. The one difference is that it's much more... strict a little bit in that, like, you have this mission, and the mission will tell you you need 3 kobolds and 2 skeletons and 1 of these, and like those are the miniatures. Whereas like in Frostgrave, you can just be like, okay, well, we have our war bands and we're trying to get treasure. Oh, and then some random skeletons show up or random whatever. And but in the scenarios for Rangers of Shadowdeep, it's a little bit more strict about what models specifically you need. So you kind of have to pay attention to that and go, oh geez, I'm low on kobolds. I better go, buy some more and paint them up or whatever. That's the only kind of limiting factor in my opinion. But otherwise, it's a cool game. And like he was self-publishing it because I guess Osprey didn't want to publish it, possibly because they thought it was too much like Frostgrave, which was already one of their own properties. And so he was like, well, I'm going to publish it myself. And they were like, well, okay. And then he did. And then Modiphius reached out to him. And I guess now there's going to be a version of it coming out from Modiphius, which is a big publisher. And so I have the self-published version. He sent me a PDF, Joe did. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then I went on to Wargaming Downloads, actually, and bought a print-on-demand book as well. So I have 2 versions. Oh, I mean, it's the same rules, but there's a print version and a PDF version. And so I'm looking forward to the Modiphius one as well when it comes out. Battle Masters was my intro as well. I found the castle at my grandparents' house not too long ago. Yeah, I've still got it in the basement. I was on... Someone mentioned it on Twitch, I think, Friday morning, and I was like... from where I'm sitting in the basement, it was like 15 feet away from me, but I couldn't just go over and grab it. Plus, it would barely fit on camera. It's a humongous box. So there's that. I'm glad. Do you think Warhammer Old World might be smaller scale? No, I doubt it. I figured it'll probably be 28 millimeter. I think they would be. It wouldn't be real smart of them, I think, to make it like 15 millimeter, because then people couldn't use the same terrain and all that kind of stuff. It'd be a real pain. Let's see. Patrick Wilson says Rangers of Shadowdeep is super duper good. Yeah, I do enjoy it. It's very cool. Emily says Rangers of Shadowdeep is awesome, and Randall is a great teacher. Warpugs forever. Nice. Let's see here. In a time when it's hard to get in-game, Rangers is a super good option. Yeah, no, it's because it's hard to get people to play, and that you can play it single player if you want to. It's very cool. I was playing D&D long before HeroQuest, says Voce Noctum. So when we got it, we never did much with it, really. Yeah, like I started playing D&D in the 5th grade. So that kind of got me into my like nerd-based gaming. Probably a bit earlier on, but I'm not sure. 5th grade, how old are you in 5th grade? Like 9? So that was probably 1979, 1980. No, that's not right. I was born in 71. I don't know. Yeah, probably early 80s. Is Battlemasters the game with the knockdown walls and the catapults? No, I don't think so. But it had a real thin, like, plastic, almost like vinyl mat that was like, I don't know, 5 foot by 5 foot. It was huge. And it had big hexes on it. And then it was pretty cool. It was almost like a battle game, like I don't want to say it was like Warhammer Fantasy, but you did move, like, you had like a plate that would have like 3 knights on it. You would move it like all at once. It was not like, each unit was separate. Let's see here. Hey to Adam at all tabletop minions. Have just begun some ogres from Age of Sigmar, partly to play ogres and partly to paint some cool tattooed boyos. Started any directionless fun projects recently? Do I have any directionless projects? Well, I started working on this Yeti that's 3D printed from Titan Forge. It's a resin 3D printed model. And I don't have any plans to put it into a game, because I don't know if I have any games that really deal with Yetis much. But I just was like, it's a super cool model, and I really wanted to paint it. So I guess that's a little directionless. I don't know. I don't find anything directionless, because even if it's just a model I'm going to paint because I enjoy painting it, I'm still having a good time with it. That Maggot Crown Ogre Juggernaut, I think I got it right, that I also did recently, that comes from the Reaper Bones Black line, which is the kind of dark gray bones instead of the white kind of bendy ones. That was also just like, I wanted to build it and paint it, and I don't particularly have a game system that it's associated with. So I'm playing an easy game for my daughters based on Toon from Steve Jackson. Oh, I remember Toon. I never played it, but I watched it played sometimes at conventions and stuff like that. Yeah, definitely. Trying to watch the live recording was different due to the amount of ads. Oh, yeah, I'm going to have to try to... So, and I don't know why. And I even reached out on Twitter, and I got sort of not much. I got a little bit of response, but not much from YouTube. If you're going to... Basically, if you're going to watch this as a later on, give me a little bit, because like by the time this gets done, it gets done at 11 o'clock a.m. my time. It takes probably half an hour to 45 minutes before it gets processed, and then people can watch the rerun. Lately, YouTube has been taking the 2-hour clip and putting ads every 3 minutes for the first hour, and then no ads the last hour, and it makes it nearly unwatchable. And I can't tell them to not do that, but I can go in later on and pull most of the ads out, or at least a bunch of the ads, or at least reduce the ads by half and then spread them out over the 2 hours or something like that. Like I can't say just, hey, you stop that. I don't know why. They just automatically do that. It's something they changed recently. I'm sure it's in response to the economy going sort of to crap because of like as soon as like the COVID stuff happened in April, all of a sudden ad revenue dropped like on my end, it dropped probably 70%. It just fell through the floor. And I think what they're doing to try to fix that, although people are starting to advertise more because the economy is not, I mean, it's not as bad as it was, say, maybe like in April, but it's still not great. But people are starting to advertise a little bit more. They see where things are going a little bit, whatever. But I think also YouTube is just trying to crank the ads way up to make the revenue better. But unfortunately, because of that, like I said, with specifically this show being in 2-hour format, they try to, and I don't know what it is, but you can actually see it on the graph that they show you, is that like, yeah, the first hour is just an ad every 3 minutes, and then all of a sudden no ads the last hour. So I'm going to try to fix that right after the show. As soon as it posts it, I'm going to try to fix it, because 2 weeks ago I got lots and lots of complaints from folks and stuff like that. What? I think Maggie, oh, and it could be Margot too. Margot has a little puffball that she found somewhere. It had probably been underneath the stove or something, and she likes to carry it around in her mouth and sing a little bit too, kind of like her sister does. I don't know where they get that from. You could use the Yeti for Frostgrave, perhaps. Well, that's actually not a bad idea. That's what I'm thinking about the Ogres. Just have 3 big lads as specialists and a tiny goblin wizard. Ooh, that's kind of fun, yeah. Just signed on. Why is it so dark? I assume he has already explained. You may want to refresh your browser. It shouldn't be that dark. I mean, it's not bright as it was like yesterday. Yesterday it was super crazy sunny coming in here, and it kind of, I actually had to pull the shades, but it shouldn't be dark. Yes, I tried to watch a replay of last every other show, and it had ads every 2 minutes. Yeah, I've gone back to last week's and fixed it. And I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to try to remember to do it. I'll probably look like at 11:30 to see if the VOD, the replay is posted, because it does take a while for YouTube to, after a 2-hour live show, it takes a while for it to process and all that stuff. But as soon as it gets processed, I'm going to try to go in there and fix that. Any tips on making a display board? I'm trying to make something that looks nice but also ergonomically works as a small 2x2 battlefield, like 2 foot by 2 foot. I mean, a lot of people like to use that pink foam that that people put on the outside of houses. Being in the Philippines, you might not have that stuff because it's a lot warmer there. Here, living in Coldsville, you can just go to the local hardware store and buy big, huge sheets of this pink, super tight, like cellular foam. It's not like the white foam that you get wrapped around electronic stuff. It's got the little balls. It's like this real, and it's really easy to carve, and a lot of people use it for terrain. That stuff's pretty good if you can find it. I don't know. On a 2 foot by 2 foot board, the question becomes: do you want to make it modular? Do you want to make it so it's just a board and you can move all the stuff around on it, or do you want to like make something that's almost like a little mini diorama, and then just always play in that same kind of mini diorama? I would think about that a little bit, I guess, before you start building. Seems to be on a lot of channels. Warhammer Weekly old shows are the same. Yeah, it's been happening a bunch, and it's a thing. Let's see. Ad bombing makes me want to find an ad blocker on mobile, so it's so bad. Ads every 1.5 minutes. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to try to fix it. Good evening here from Russia. What do you think about Noise Marines? Do you like that miniature? Um, I know there's the new one that's out, the new Noise Marine model. I don't personally like. It's not a bad sculpt, certainly. I just have never liked the whole concept that there's these Chaos Marines that play electric guitars. It seems a little jokey to me, and I don't mind some like tongue-in-cheek, obviously, but it's just not a joke that I find super funny. I'm not against them. Don't get me wrong. It's just I don't see myself buying them myself. But if someone else had them, I would be. I know. Eenie Minis on Twitch. She just painted one. I don't know, a couple months ago. So yeah, it's like I said, it's a well done sculpt, the new Noise Marine, but it's just not. Just like that, and like I know that there's like also orcs. Like sometimes they're like supposed to be in a band and stuff like that or whatever. Although I don't think they make models for that specifically. But I don't know. It seems silly to me as far as like the whole game system obviously is a little silly and everything like that, but then also to go, well, but then there's also, I don't know. It's weird to me. Trying to make everyone get YouTube Red. YouTube, I think they call it YouTube Premium now, but now I know what you're talking about. Yeah. That's possible. Maybe. I've been trying out YouTube Premium, so I haven't noticed ads. $12 a month versus ad blocker. Meh. Yeah. That pink foam stuff is called XPS foam. XPS. What else is XPS? There's a Dell laptop that's an XPS laptop, right? Not made out of that foam, though. Misnomer. Background is usually brighter, that's all. Well, yeah, like I said, it got cloudy, so I suppose there's that. But if it was like really super, super dark, then I would maybe... I've had that before, where I like go to look at a live stream and something's wrong. Like you'd only see like the highlights and everything else was black, and then I'd have to hit refresh, and then the browser would fix the problem. So yeah. High density construction foam insulation. Yeah, I like that stuff. It's pretty cool. Jay the Apple. Hey, Uncle Adam. Cool to catch a stream. Well, glad to have you. There was also a Hero Quest module, if I recall, that used the Yeti. Oh, okay. Since you can download for free all the original models, but still need the rare figures that came with them. I could see that. Your recent Friday videos aimed at beginners are awesome. Wish I could have had the guidance when I started. Well done, sir. Well, thank you, Ron. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think that, I did that video about some techniques to ignore as a beginner. And I wish, because I've had a lot of people mention it, I do wish, and it completely slipped my mind because I've never even attempted it. But I also wished I would have mentioned non-metallic metals in that video. I talked about how, don't worry about wet blending when you start. Just it's an advanced technique. I would tell you to work on other stuff, like the stuff that I did in Friday's video. Edge highlighting, I'd tell you to dry brush because it's faster and it's easier and blah blah. But again, down the road, when you get more advanced, go to town. And then non-metallic metal is a thing I should have probably also did a video, or not a video about, but I should have mentioned it in that video and said that's not a thing you should worry about when you're a starter, when you're a noob. So yeah, because I had a bunch of people comment about it, and that's a good point. I just kind of didn't think of it because, like I said, I've never even bothered with non-metallic metal. It's just, not only does it seem like it's a lot of work, it also, I rarely ever see it work out. In my opinion, even like super good painters and pros and stuff like that, I always look at it and go, it just doesn't look real. It looks a little cartoony to me. It's just a personal preference. Every once in a great while, I see something and I'm like, wow, that one worked out real well. Sam did something just recently that I thought had non-metallic metal in it to some degree that looked really, really good. But it was incredibly subtle. That's also a big deal. It was like a big kind of fat guy, and he had like an axe maybe and like a giant war hammer, and the hammer's head, the side of it, had like a non-metallic metal thing going on. But it was so subtle it looked real, and so I like that a lot. But generally, yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. I had your last video up and was working around the house, and a Man in the High Castle viewer guide came on. It was a 30-minute ad. I usually watch the ads because I plug my phone in the TV and sit. That's a 30-minute ad. That's weird. I don't know why anyone would bother doing that, but there you go. Man in the High Castle, we watched it. It was fine until the very end. Yeah. Let's see here. Expanded polystyrene or something like that for XPS. XPS is not always pink either. Yeah, that's true. There's also blue and I think also green. I swear I've seen green. Around here, it seems to mostly always be pink, although I think I've seen blue in a local store. Let's see here. With lack of conventions, have you thought about having classes on your own, like the YouTube classes you did? Maybe as a Patreon tier or something? I've kicked around the idea. I don't know. Like, there are... I haven't thought about it real hard, but I've thought about it. Doing... The only classes I would see myself doing would be, like you mentioned a little bit, maybe doing some kind of YouTube classes or something like that. I don't know. I don't know if I would want to find some sort of service that I could work through, like Udemy or I don't know. It's not Skillshare. Ugh. I decided to pull the trigger on Skillshare, and it's not. I'm not finding it to be great, frankly. A lot of the stuff is pretty janky. I used to use lynda.com, which is a great service for like learning software and things like that. But it's like $250 a year. We used to get it free through the university because my wife works at the university, and then all of a sudden that dried up for some reason because all the benefits dry up. Anyway, so I was like, all right, I'll try with Skillshare. It's considerably cheaper. Yeah, well, you kind of get what you pay for. It's not great. I mean, there are some good things on there, but there's a lot of like, so I wouldn't do that. But I've thought about it. Maybe a Patreon tier as well. That's potential. Yeah, I haven't thought a ton about it, but I'm thinking about it. Those videos were helpful. Getting back into painting, I've never been happy with the results, but I'm working on not caring too much. Yeah, that's, I think, a big deal. It's not that you don't care. It's that you don't maybe overly care. Don't be as overly critical of yourself when you're starting out new, because it will just kind of stress you out and not want you to try to progress, I guess. Like if you decide, I'm going to start playing basketball, and the first like 3 shots that you try to make don't land, and then you're like, well, I'm terrible at this, and then you don't do it anymore. That's not the way that those things work. You have to keep practicing until you start getting good. That's how that goes. Your watercolor pencil tip has been real clutch for me. Thanks for that. Well, yeah, watercolor pencils are very cool for if you're going to do edge highlighting, I think, frankly. Let's see here. You can see the work in non-metallic metal, but it's not that realistic, and it's a huge amount of effort. Not a fan either. Yeah, it's kind of like, and I was talking about this yesterday in the Patreon show, the monthly Patreon show. If you ever see those pictures on the internet where somebody does like a chalk drawing on the ground that makes it look like it's a hole, and it's three-dimensional and perspective and all this stuff, and gives you a little bit of vertigo because it's like, oh, I'm staring down a giant hole in the sidewalk, and it's actually a cavern into a whatever. Those only look good from one angle, the angle that photo was taken from. If you look at it from any other angle, it looks stupid because everything's all stretched and weird because it's a perspective trick to make it look like it's a three-dimensional thing. If you are looking in comic books and someone's drawing, Jack Kirby is drawing Colossus from the X-Men. He's all shiny and silver, but you're drawing him on a 2D page, and you're trying to make him look like a mirrored object without using metallic inks. You have to draw all that kind of like glare and highlights and specular and whatever, all that kind of stuff. And you do all that work to make him look at it, and you can look at it and go, cool, he's chrome. I get it. But you're looking at that page flat because it's a flat 2D piece of artwork. Even if you're looking at the page from an angle, it doesn't matter. If you take a three-dimensional model and paint it to look like non-metallic metal and to give that kind of either chrome or gold or whatever metallic reflective specular highlights, all that stuff, look, it's cool as long as you look at it from the right angle. If you turn it, the specular highlights don't move with the model. They don't do anything because they were painted on. They're not being real, and so that's just part of the issue. Again, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that when you do it, you're doing it in many situations. I think you're doing it just to see if you can kind of make the process work, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're stretching as a painter. But as a new painter getting into trying to get models on the table, and you see all these videos about non-metallic metals, you can think to yourself, well, crap, I got to learn how to do this, otherwise my models are going to look like garbage. And that's what I'm trying to tell people is like, no, that's an advanced technique, and you want to think about that later on. Currently, use some silver metallic paint. It'll be great. Throw a little bit of wash on there, maybe a highlight, a little bit, dry brush, whatever. It'll be awesome. That's kind of what I'm looking at. So, BJ Morph says, I have a bunch of Udemy courses in my backlog. I was considering Skillshare. Good to know it's not worth it. I'll save my money. Yeah, maybe there's maybe for certain things, like, oh, maybe it's good for cooking. Maybe it's, I don't know. And like I said, they do have some high-profile people doing some things, but a lot of other stuff I'm looking at, I'm like, oh, I want to learn how to use this piece of software. And either A, they don't have stuff, or it's an old version, or the video that does show up is like, just, I don't know, like you can constantly hear the guy's refrigerator in the background or whatever, you know, and you know, that, yeah, I mean, I guess I can't talk about that. My refrigerator is currently running, but I'm also not on Skillshare, you know, so there's that. I don't know. I've noticed that the site Thingiverse has some discontinued Warhammer Quest figures you can print. Is that even legal? Probably not. Generally not. One thing I noticed is that my OK table ready for beginner model looks like butts when I take a photo. Thank the powers to be for fading eyesight, maybe. I think, honestly, here's what I think happens, because I find that exact same thing. I think that my models are like, oh, wow, this looks really great, and then I take a photo of it, and it doesn't look as good. Two things now happen. Number one, I made a video about that a little bit, talking about if you think your model is finished and all dialed in, take some photos of it, because you will find stuff that you missed. And I think it's us looking at the model in 3D versus then looking at it in 2D. I think that our brains kind of fill in some stuff when we're looking at it in 3D, and we're like, yep, that's awesome. And then when you look at it 2D on a monitor or whatever, then you're like, oh, now I see the problems. I think it's a little bit of that. It's also, you're generally getting very close to the model when you're taking a photo, which you don't usually hold the model like this close to your face. If you can, you probably can't focus that close, whereas the camera can. But I also just think it does have something to do with translating a 3D thing to 2D that makes it look a little bit worse. And like I said, I do think that your eyes sort of help, like, fill in the gaps and make things look better. And again, there's a lot of things, but I've noticed the same thing. I'll paint a model that I'm like really happy with, and I take pictures of it, and I'm like, no, those pictures aren't great. And I'm relatively, I know a lot about photography. I've been doing it a very long time. That's what I went to school for. So it's not that I'm taking bad photos necessarily. Sometimes I am. You know, it happens. I think it's just something to do with translating a 3D thing to 2D that makes it look slightly worse, or sometimes also brings out some of the things you missed. Also, again, being a lot closer. If you use a macro lens, every painter out there has this sort of line where they're like, I need to get close, but not too close, because if I get too close, it really brings out the ugly. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I like the comic book style paint jobs with the heavy black panel lining, but I prefer true metallic metal. Interesting. Getting to tabletop ready is going to be key for me. I want the game to game a bit and having miniatures done. Yeah, and I think that's a great thing to do, honestly. It just works out. Hello from North Carolina. Enjoyed the Twitch stream live on Friday. Well, glad to have you. Absolutely. Uncle Adam, have you watched the Season 2 Mandalorian trailer? Yes. I think so. There was a recent one where, like, the little Baby Yoda guy was in the little thing, and then kind of there was going to be a fight, and then he pushed the button and closed up his little crib thing. I think if that's the one, yeah, I did see that. I'm looking forward to it. My wife and I have enjoyed that show. We don't enjoy the fact that they make you wait a week every week. That bothers us, but, you know. We're also a little peeved about The Boys on Amazon. We like the show, but it sucks you have to wait a week for it to see it. Like, they did the first 3, and then it's like every Friday a new one comes out. I'm like, can we just get rid of that old school crap? I just play them all at once. I want to watch them when I want to watch them. I don't want to be like, oh, you know, let's watch another. Oh, we can't. No, because that's right. We got to wait till next week. That drives me a little nuts. Have you considered painting Cthulhu-esque models in your Twitch stream? I have this Cthulhu model from WizKids, where it's like a Cthulhu coming up out of the water, and then they have like the water effects that are clear, and the Cthulhu is that WizKids pre-primed kind of gray plastic. I do kind of want to paint him, and I do wonder if I could maybe paint him on stream. That could be a thing that could happen. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I paint a fair amount of non-metallic metal. To each their own, but I find it very rewarding. You have to enjoy spending dozens of hours per mini. I use simpler techniques to get actual armies on the table, though. Oh, yeah. Again, like I said, there's nothing wrong with non-metallic metal. I think that the main issue is that beginners keep hearing about it and go, well, I have to do that. You know what I mean? Like that whole video came from, I was watching a podcast and it was a guy who was talking to a bunch of people who had been painting and building for quite a while, and he was a noob, kind of. He was a new person getting into the hobby, and they were like, and they were talking to him and whatnot, and he was like, so they were finally like, do you have any last questions? He's like, yeah, how do you wet blend? And like all of them were like, you don't need to worry about that at this point. Like that's an advanced thing. He's like, but I hear about it all the time. And they're like, yeah, you do, but worry about doing this, this, and this, and all these different techniques. And I was watching that, and I'm like, that's a very good point. There's a lot of people who, again, because I'm generally kind of focusing on getting people in the hobby, and I want to let people know, work on this, don't worry about that. Oops, clunk the mic. You know, when you get to the point where non-metallic metal is the thing you want to do, then you can go that direction, but don't start with it. Don't worry about it. You know, sweat the easy stuff to begin with, get good at that, and then you can move on. So lately I found myself picking up scattershot style and not playing anything. As a newbie, it's like a trap. Get more, not play. Well, it's a little hard to play now for a lot of folks, obviously. So there's that. You know, like, I haven't been able to play. I have not played... Well, that's not true. I played Relic Blade with Malev online, Tabletop Simulator, sometime in April, I think. Maybe it was May. But otherwise, I haven't played a game in person with a person since the 14th of March. So I came back from traveling. I was in Reno, Nevada for a trade show. We flew back on Friday the 13th of March. I remember because I'm thinking, hey, I'm flying on Friday the 13th. Great. And then Saturday the 14th, we at the local shop, we basically had like a casual kill team day. And that's the last time that I played a tabletop game with people in person. So my wife and I are going to play Warcry soon. As soon as I get a couple, I get this next warband done, then we'll probably start. We'll figure that out. But yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Let's see here. I like waiting a week. It gives me time to think about the show. Otherwise, I just forget everything by the time I finish the season. Yeah, see, I just want to watch them back to back. Not all of them, but I do want to watch 2 or 3 of them at a time, maybe. Well, Mandalorian's an hour long, so we still like to watch 2 of them usually, and then take a couple days and then watch a couple more. I think it's because the show is good. If the show is really not very good, then I kind of don't care. Well, then I generally don't watch it. Let's see here. I've gotten into Cthulhu Mythos recently. I've started reading the short stories, playing Eldritch Horror, etc. Yeah, I like a lot of that stuff. I really enjoy. I know that H.P. Lovecraft is a touch problematic as a dude, but that being said, I do like a bunch of his stories. I don't know that I've read all of them. Certainly not at all. I've read. There's been several that I really enjoy though. Hi, I'm new to Warhammer. I just started watching videos and I've enjoyed yours the most. Thank you. Well, I appreciate it, Mike. Thank you very much. Welcome to the hobby. Clayton says, agreed. I probably painted 4,000 points worth of minis before trying techniques like non-metallic metal. Yeah, again, like I said, I don't think it's a beginner technique. I think that it's something that if you want to do down the road, you should, but you don't even ever have to. Like I said, I've been doing this a long time, and I'm not a pro, but I'm, again, trying to get stuff on the table. I don't bother doing it. If I was to try to get into display painting, I would probably, if I was going to try to get into display painting, I would probably try to cheat and do non-metallic metal, but with metallic paints. So what I mean by that is try to kind of do the same thing that you're supposed to do with non-metallic metals, but with different colors of silver. So you'd have dark silver on this edge of the blade, and then light silver on that edge of the blade, which is like a weird hybrid, I guess. But I thought about that recently. I'm like, I could fake non-metallic metal with just different colors of metallics. Because there's like white gold that I have from Proacryl, which is a really super, super light, kind of goldy, but almost silver. I've got, like dark steel. There's all kinds of different colors between Proacryl. Vallejo has got a bunch of great metallic colors that I love. So yeah, there's a lot of things I could do like that. Playing solo tabletop is rough. I plan on curating miniatures games with my young daughters. Nice. Let's see here. Painting miniature paint has smaller pigments. It's a lot harder to use any acrylic paint and get decent. So I would avoid buying it and buy paints next month, or just build the minis this month. Hey, Elston Nation, how you doing? Yeah, I agree. Using just any old kind of acrylic paint for terrain, it's fine. It's totally fine. But for models, I've seen people do it, but the pigments are much larger on just regular like craft paints that you get from the dollar store or whatever. And so on a miniature who's only this high, when the pigments are bigger, everything looks chalky and sort of chunky. So it's not a great way to work. You generally do want to work with some sort of miniature paint because the little things are smaller, the little pigments and such. I binge watched Mandalorian. Loved getting through them all in a few nights. Yeah, see, that's the thing. We ended up waiting because it was like, whatever, 8 episodes or something. We waited until most of them, I think, were done. And then, or maybe we were like, waited till it was like halfway done, and then we started. I don't remember exactly. I built and painted close to 60 models this year so far. Been taking a break with PS4 mostly this week. World of Tanks, World of Warships, Call of Duty Warzone, Battle Royale. Doing terrible. Yeah, I'm not good at video games either, but I do still play them from time to time. Like I said, lately it's been paint breaks. It's been like, oh, I've been painting for a while, and then my eyes hurt a bit, so I'm going to go, look at the TV, which is further away than, like, say, this close. Do not try to play PlayStation this close. It's not good. Have we ever talked about Lovecraft Country yet? It's great. My wife and I were actually mentioning about how we both are kind of interested, but we don't have HBO. We've thought about maybe getting it just to watch that. One piece of advice I heard was you want to paint an army, not a model. Yeah. The thing is that I also see people who are kind of new to the hobby talking about they'll show off like one model and they're like, oh, well, I got this model done for my army. It's, the first guy out of 2,000 points. It only took me a month. At that point, you need to kind of go back and look at it and go, what are my expectations and what, you know what I mean? Like, first of all, I almost never paint one model at a time. Even if I have like something that's just a single model, like that Yeti. I didn't just sit there and work on that Yeti from beginning to, like, you start working on the Yeti, you do something, and then you're like, okay, that's got to dry, and then you pick up another model on your table that is not Yeti related in any way, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to work on this. But if you are painting an army, to paint one model at a time, that way leads madness, all right? Just don't paint them at least in groups of 5, because you get that assembly line going, and you're like, okay, these guys all got to look the same, so we're working on gloves now. Just painting glove, 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 next guy, glove, 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 and you do your 5 guys, or maybe 10, When I first started doing assembly line stuff, I couldn't really do more than 5, because it would sort of drive me a little batty. I've gotten to the point now where I can do, I painted 13 of those Skaven, and so I was able to run through those guys. So yeah, being able to do bigger groups of people, it works a little bit nicer. Or not necessarily people, rat people, whatever. But yeah, that's kind of the trick. So you want to definitely I want to go that way because I think it's a smarter way to go as far as just getting things done quickly. Working one model at a time when you're trying to build an army, paint an army, super hard. So if you want to do a test model to start, different story. You test that out and go, okay, and obviously write down all the stuff you're doing. But once you get that done, just start cranking through the models. And the best way to do that is to be painting 5 to 10 at a time in assembly line. So anyway, let's see here. Favorite thing to listen to while you hobby: podcast, Audible, or Spotify? Predominantly, I hop back and forth between podcasts and Audible. I'm not generally a music listener while I'm painting. I don't know why. I like to listen to music in other situations, but while I'm painting, I want to be listening to either podcasts or audiobooks, generally Audible. I'm a big fan of Audible. What am I listening to now? Yesterday I was listening to the new episode of Last Podcast on the Left. I got maybe halfway through before I switched over and was listening to something else. I've also been listening to the Dollop. The Dollop is another podcast that I like. It's good. It is an American history podcast, but it's basically 2 comedians. I think the majority of podcasts should, if the best podcasts in my opinion are by comedians. They could be talking about American history or politics or whatever, but if they're not comedians, I don't find them to be they're not that funny, as it turns out. So anyway, Yeah, the Dollop is fun because it's an American history podcast, and each week, one of the guys, he reads basically a story from American history to the other guy who has not prepared in any way, does not know what they're going to be talking about. So he's basically reacting to this weird story from American history, and it's pretty good. So anyway, I've been enjoying the Dollop as well. I have that issue of taking too much time to paint a model. I've spent about 3 weeks on 2 models of the Adominus box, but I think I'm enjoying the painting. I mean, if you're enjoying it, here's the deal. If you're enjoying it, keep doing it because you're having a good time and you can do what you want. But if you're like complaining about like, man, I never get this army done because I'm painting one model at a time, well, that's the problem, all right? But if you're like, hey, I'm really enjoying deep diving, working on one model at a time, then that's great. You know what I mean? It's when you complain but don't try to fix it that seems weird. Like if this is the problem and it's causing you consternation, here's the solution. You know what I mean? That's the thing. It's not that the hobby is broken. It's that you're doing it to some degree wrong if this is the result you're expecting. If you're like, I want to paint one model at a time and it's going to take me 4 years to get this army done and I will enjoy every step of it, awesome. That's exactly what you should be doing then. But if you're like, I want this army done as fast as possible, but I'm going to do it in the slowest way possible, well, there's your problem. You know what I mean? So anyway. Assembly line is useful if you need to take a break. I moved house and I had a warband half done. I had to remember what I was doing. Yeah, that's again one of those things where you want to definitely, if you're painting any kind of army where they sort of all need to look the same, make a recipe. Write down step 2 I did this, step 3 I did this, and exactly what you did. And because your memory as you get older goes to hell. Lord knows I know that. And so you might go back and look at it and go, I don't remember what color I used for this. And now you do this, and then you're like, well, that's not the same color, and it's a thing. So my hobby goal each year for the last 4 years has been to build and paint at least 100 miniatures. I've only surpassed it once, one year with 116. Nice. Let's see. This year I got back into working on some of my older projects I had put aside for years, and I made some improvements on them. One of them is a Forge World Keeper of Secrets and a Chaos Knight. Nice. Yeah, I have 2 Knight kits. The one I bought on eBay and one I bought from my local shop, but it was kind of used. Like it had been returned, or I don't know. It was, anyway. And I just haven't. I want to. I've been working on other large models. I've worked on. I did an Armiger, Warglaive Armiger or whatever from AdMech, which you guys really haven't seen too much. I think the irregulars might have seen it at one point. I've got that Canoptic Reanimator. What else? I've got a couple other large models that I want to do, and I'm just making them real beat up and kind of like Blanchitsu sort of style, like kind of real grungy and a lot of brown. And I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm working on a Redemptor Dreadnought, which is not that huge, but it's one of those easy to build ones in the blue plastic. But I'm going to paint him up again to look all beat up and battle worn, and not even for 40K. I want to make him look just like a weird, like random robot you might find out in the wastes that's just got a bunch of stuff, hanging off of him, and maybe even moss or who knows, that kind of thing. I like batch painting for units so they all look cohesive, but not for the entire army, since I think it leads them to all blending together. I mean, I guess it depends on what you're looking for your army. If your army's supposed to all match each other, it's a different story. But I even batch paint when I'm painting models that don't match. You know what I mean? Like if I'm painting some sort of warband and they're all slightly different, like this one's an elf and this one's a whatever and this one's wearing plate mail, I still want to batch paint them because then I'm never waiting. There's not a lot of downtime. If I paint one model at a time, I'm like, okay, I've thrown wash all over this guy, and I know I have to sit here and wait for half an hour for it to dry and all the little nooks and crannies before I can go on. Or I can just go paint the next guy and then work on this dude, and he doesn't have any wash on him because he's wearing a cloak or so. I don't know, whatever. You know what I mean? But you can just be like, working on multiple models at once allows you to, this is going to dry, I'm going to go on to the next guy, and it keeps you rolling forward, I've found. Gray Primer says, since getting Audible, I'm burning through the Black Library books while I hobby. I like picking a book that's themed to the minis I'm building. Yeah, that's a cool thing. That makes sense. I think the next Black Library books that I'm going to listen to is I'm going to go back through and listen to Ravnor, the whole series. because I listened to Eisenhorn last year at one point, all of those, and I think now I'm going to do Ravnor. I mean, I've read both of those books, like with my eyes and stuff, but I do enjoy listening to them as well. Let's see here. I keep a notebook of all my armies I painted on how I painted in colors in order battle. I keep that in my phone because I've got an app called Evernote, so it's got saved to the cloud, and then yeah, that works out nice. But yeah, just got my One Small Step Kickstarter board game from Academy Games. Going to learn and play today. It's a game about the space race. Huh, never heard of that. That's cool. A Tau series would be so cool. Like a Tau TV show? What are you talking about, series? Or do you mean books, like audio books? I don't know if they make any audio books about... There's got to be some stories about Tau and the Black Library. Yeah, maybe. Audible is great for painting sessions. I wish the Horus Heresy books were longer. I think on Audible I only own the first 4 Horus Heresy books. Yeah, well, to be fair, I've never read all the Horus Heresy books. I've only kind of read the first few that like are in order, and then eventually they're just like kind of all over the board. And I've read a couple of those, but not lately. Yeah. Pretty excited for my laser engraver to turn up. Going to do some Gaslands templates. Well, that sounds cool. Is it a laser cutter too, or does it just engrave? That's kind of neat. Wow. I'm in the middle of Ravnor now. Dan Abnett plus Tony Longworth equals magic. Yeah, I like Dan Abnett's stuff quite a bit, and I like Tony Longworth as well. Absolutely. Uncle Adam, I hope you're doing well. I'm curious to whatever happened to the limited edition Sisters of Battle. I still have the box, and I am probably going to turn it into a kill team at some point. Not all of it, but parts of it. I actually picked up... There was that like special model that they made recently. It's and she's holding the bolter, and she kind of looks like the artwork on the front of the book. I can't think of what it's called. That's actually sitting on my hobby table right now. I was gonna build it after I got done building Ripper Jackson, and then Ripper Jackson took a little bit longer than I thought, and then I got distracted doing other stuff last night, and then we cooked on the grill, and then watched The Norseman on Netflix, which is, it's not, I don't know that I'm going to see a lot more of it. It's okay, but it's not it's not my humor, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so that's the plan though, is I'm planning on making some kill team out of that box. What's the best way to plan a paint job? I get close to finishing but then find bits I missed in awkward places and have to go back later. I mean, I say this quite a bit, especially on the Twitch channel when I'm painting. If you can't see it, don't paint it. So if it's really, really hard for you to see, but you finally did just happen to catch it when you were holding the model upside down to paint this one part, and you're like, oh man, I missed the upside behind the cape way up at the small of their back, you probably, no one will ever see that. So don't stress about trying to get the brush like way up inside there, you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, I find that the paint job works like this in almost every situation. You get about 90% done, and then you are about half the way there. What I mean by that is that you've painted everything, you get 90%, 95% of the model covered, and then you're going back and you're like, oh, I missed this part. Oh, I want to put a little bit of wash on this. Oh, I want to do a little bit of that. Like, I've been working on these Nurgle guys, and they were like close to done, but I was constantly like, oh, I missed this little thing. Oh, I did, you know. And so I just keep picking them up and looking at them. I'm like, all right, what's this guy's problem? I'm like, all right, well, no, oh, there's something I little missed. So that's... I used to work for this company, and it was a not-for-profit company that worked with... it was designed for people who want to build their own airplanes, called the Experimental Aircraft Association. And those projects, like there was a buzz phrase that went around that company for a long time about how, like, at 90% done, you're about 50% there. And that's just the way it works. So, you know, with building an airplane project. Because it will all of a sudden, boom, looks like an airplane, but there's so much little junk you got to do now. And it's the same thing with painting sometimes, is that you get it and it looks basically close to being done, but there's little parts here and there that you want to fix, and you want to, and it's a decision thing to some degree as well. If you are like, this is one of 50 cultists who's going to sit on the table, maybe I don't need to go through and do a secondary highlight on every single one of their autoguns. You know what I mean? Maybe it's good enough because there's going to be so many of them, and that's fine. But when you're working on an HQ unit who's like the leader and is supposed to be real fancy, then you want to take a little bit more time. So you're going to probably spend more time once you get him nearly done to make him really done. That's kind of the way it works. If I mainly just want to 3D print bits and basing material, what 3D printer would you recommend? Shoulder pads, insignias, weapons. If you want to do stuff that small, then I would tell you to go resin. I don't know. I don't have the background to tell you which printer to go with, but I would definitely say a resin printer is going to be better for the little tiny stuff versus a filament printer, an FDM printer. Filament printers, where you got the big spool of plastic and all that stuff, great for terrain, not great for tiny little bits. I would tell you to look at resin. Some of the big players in the market I know are Anycubic, Frozen, that's spelled with a PH instead of an F, Elegoo, just a bunch of weird... It sounds like... You know, like when you're watching TV, if you still do that anymore, and you see a commercial, if you see those, for like a drug company, and they're talking about some new drug, and it's just the weirdest made-up word that you've ever heard. It's like the 3D printer companies are doing the same thing with their names. Like Anycubic, Frozen, and Elegoo, whatever. All right, cool. But not bad printers from what I understand, so you got that looking for you. Microsoft OneNote is great for keeping notes on painting. I believe it's free with a Microsoft account. Yeah, I think that's right. But yeah, I definitely like to keep that stuff on my phone, because if I keep it on a piece of paper, I'm going to lose the piece of paper, probably. Do you think Thousand Sons look better before or after Heresy? I don't know if I can't think of what they look like before Heresy, and I like them after Heresy. I think they look pretty cool. Did anyone ever tell you that you sound like Markiplier? No, that doesn't seem right. He's got a very cool voice. Like, I wish my voice sounded like him. I appreciate that. That's very nice of you to say. But he's got a very cool voice. But I've not heard that before, but thank you. Having a recipe might help you get to done. At least that's what I'm trying. Yeah, well, that also helps just because if you have to take a break for 2 weeks and then come back and go, what the heck was I doing again? Being able to follow the recipe is super helpful. I like the Warcry core mechanics, but the campaign rules in both the core book and the 2019 annual didn't feel as strong as Necromunda's, for example. I had to put the game down after. Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm not expecting a ton from a campaign, generally. Like, there are some where you're just like, this isn't even just a campaign, it's just note-taking after you've played multiple games. And then there's other campaign systems which are in sometimes almost leaning towards RPGs, role-playing games. So there's that, I guess. But, yeah, I don't know. I guess I haven't noticed that too much, but then again, like I said, I'm not expecting a ton out of campaign too much. It's certainly not Mordheim. Certainly not Mordheim. That's for sure. I'll give you that. Maybe you need to do a video on how to finish the final 10%. That's where I always get stuck. I don't think I've ever felt done enough to clear code. Oh, okay. All right. Let's see. I want to dive into Age of Sigmar, but I was painting minis not for gaming and never used Varnish. Is Varnish that important when playing on tabletop? I mean, I can move minis by touching the bases. It's up to you. Some people prefer it. I generally like Varnish for two reasons. Number one is to help protect the paint job to some degree, but also some of the paints, depending on what they are, that I have will sometimes have a glossier finish than others. So I like to be able to kind of even out my finishes so that the entire model looks matte finish. I prefer matte finish. So I like to usually spray on. The matte finish I've been using lately is AK Interactive's Ultra Matte Varnish. I don't know that I'll be buying any more of it. I like it a lot. I don't like AK Interactive as a company right now, so we'll see how that goes. But I did buy originally a big bottle, so it'll be a long time before I run out. But I do want to find a replacement that's as good. So yeah, we'll see how it goes as that goes. There's a company over in England called Instar that has a Varnish Plus, I think they call, which is supposed to be super crazy ultra matte, and I do want to try that out. But I was gonna, and then found out that the shipping on it for me, because I'm in the United States, was going to cost not quite twice as much as the actual product, but a lot. So I'm like, So I'll still pull the trigger at some point, predominantly. But I do, yeah, I find Varnish to be helpful and useful, but it's not a necessity. Like, from what I understand, like, display painters almost never varnish anything because they don't want it to affect the overall whatever, which is fine. But for tabletop gaming, I do generally personally prefer some varnish. Let's see here. Even after making a bunch of kill teams, I still have too many Primaris. Plan to make them Chaos. Which kits are good for spare Chaos bits? Well, I mean, what do you call it? Chaos Spawn are like an expensive kit for basically just 2 dudes, I think. I think you only get 2 or 3 Chaos Spawn in that kit, but then you have bits for days. But they're all basically either eyeballs or spikes. That's not a lot, you know. So I don't know. That's a good question. That's difficult. First time catching a show live in a while. Been ears deep in online college courses. Good to be back. Well, glad to hear it. Absolutely. Do you know some mistakes people make while kit bashing? I've seen some customized figures that just don't look right. It makes me want to stay away from kit bashing my figures. It's a personal thing, you know. What you like for what you like, someone else might not like. And that's fine because it's your model, so it should look like what you want it to look like. Just because you look at somebody else's model and go, I wouldn't have done it that way, well, then you should do it the way you want to do it. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the thing. It's not that kit bashing is bad. It's that you don't agree with the aesthetic choices that person made in their kit bash. So, you know, do something that you like, and then you can be like, look, this is what I did. And so, you know what I mean? So it's not kit bashing that's the bad thing there. It's just that person's interpretation did not match your vision or vice versa or whatever. But, you know, do what you like. I think kit bashing is a ton of fun. I really like it. I can't stand looking at my own paint jobs. Well, I mean, that goes away as you get better, I think. I bought some Instar products. I found them to be great value. Yeah, no, to be perfectly honest, it's one of those situations where probably for the amount of varnish I'll get, it's a really good price, but the shipping, I kind of choked on it. It was like 10 pounds to get a bottle, and it was like 100 milliliters, which is a good sized bottle, but it was like 17 pounds to ship it to America. And I was like, oh, Lord. You know what I mean? So, let's see here. I recently bought Liquitex matte varnish. Haven't tried it yet, but I plan on playing with my Soul Wars miniatures. I don't think I've ever used Liquitex matte varnish. I did used to use, years and years ago, Winsor & Newton made a matte varnish called Galleria? It was like an art supply. You had to go to an art supply store to get it. I liked it quite a bit as a brush-on varnish. It was very nice, actually, but it's been years and years since I've even thought of it, now that I come to think of it. Look at Cromlech and Anvil for some bits to convert those Primaris to Chaos. Oh, that's a good point. Cromlech, Puppets War is another one. Cromlech and Puppets War are both in Poland, so you may want to check on the shipping, because there's been, for a while, Poland was just not shipping anything outside the country, coronavirus related, because that's what was causing it. They may have relaxed or changed things now, so you might want to check that before you order and check how it relates to your country, but that's just something to think about. But otherwise, both of those guys, I've bought stuff from Puppets War and from Cromlech, and I love their products. They work really nice. Anvil Industries is UK, and I bought some stuff from them, honestly, not that long ago. And I think I bought enough that I got free shipping, so that was sort of nice. But yeah, they're, like I said, Anvil's out of the UK, and so the shipping is not as big of a deal, although it may be expensive depending on what you buy. Like, if you only buy like one little set of shoulder pads or something like that, you probably won't get free shipping, and so therefore it may look kind of, if you live in the United States, it might look like a lot of money to ship, which it very well possibly would be. I'm expecting my Night Haunt miniatures to get busted up by playing with them. They seem very fragile. Yeah, they do. You do want to be careful with them, because they are pretty fragile. The floaty, ghosty boys are, in many situations, hanging on by just one little piece of like cloak hanging down and touching the base, and that's going to be troublesome, but they do look cool. Let's see. If COVID isn't under control for another year, upper end on CDC estimates for herd immunity to really take hold, are there any plans to bring back Game 4 when other businesses are opening back up? I mean, we're looking at... basically, we want to be able to bring it back when, obviously in-person gaming becomes a thing again. We are looking at it kind of changing. We don't know that we want it to be as app related. We think we want it to be a little bit more web related. Still something you can look at on your phone. We want to go mobile first design, so it's easy for you to use. But we're finding that, if you've been paying attention to like the news lately, tech news, which is news-ish, like Epic Games, the guys who make Fortnite and all that stuff, they are in this fight with Apple because they don't like what the Apple App Store is doing, and then Google got involved, and everybody, it's a whole thing. And it's not that the problem with doing apps, and this is from a company that develops apps as a living, is you have to take into consideration the fact that if you're going to do that, then you have to develop generally two of everything, because there's Android and iOS. There are some systems out there that allow you to develop once and then it will automatically split out and send into both places, but it's a real pain in the butt, and sometimes it doesn't work that great. So we've always done Game 4 as two separate native apps, one for Android, one for iOS. Plus you have to get everything approved and has to go through this and that and the other thing. And it's a long process. It can take, it can be problematic. If you want to charge for something, let's say you were going to have some sort of premium tier where they didn't see ads or something like that. Well, if you do it through iOS, now you got to give them 30%, and I understand. I'm not saying they should be doing this for free, but 30% seems like a lot higher than it ought to be. Anyways, a whole story. If we just make it completely web-based, mobile web and regular tabletop web, or not tabletop, desktop web, desktop, tabletop, basically the same thing, we'll be able to be a lot more agile and be able to, like right now, the Game 4 app, if you go to try it, it will say, oh yeah, you don't have the internet connection, because it can't get to the database, so it assumes that's what's going on. We can't go in and fix that without having to basically spend a bunch of time doing some development. When we originally built it, we should have made something that was like a little alert box that we could automatically pop up and say, oh, hey, here's something that changed the entire planet, and so that's why we've had to shut down for a while. But we weren't thinking there was going to be a big pandemic that was going to do this. I mean, the concept that basically all the game stores nearly on the planet were going to close simultaneously was not something we were thinking about. So that, going in the future, we certainly will. Nonetheless. So yeah, we do want to bring it back, but when we bring it back, we think it's going to be predominantly web-based. So it'll still have predominantly all the same features. It'll just not be an app. It'll be a web. And then what you can do, because I do this myself on my phone all the time, is then you can make a web page into a icon on your phone. Like I've got the Warhammer community website just as a little icon on my phone down here, and I just go tap, and then it just pops up that page and shows you all the stuff. And tells you, oh, this website uses cookies. Yeah, I know. Shut up. Thank you. So you can easily do that. So we would just make like a video and do some social posts about like, hey, if you want to make make it look like it's still an app, so you can just click it and go. Because if it's not like on someone's homepage or whatever, then a lot of times you don't think about it. So we still want to be able to do that. But yeah, we're looking at making it more web-based so that it's not as not clunky. It's not as difficult on our end to be able to change and pivot and make major changes without having to make a major change, send one to Android, send one to Google, one to Apple, have them go look at it. Android looks at it, but Apple, it's sometimes hard to get things through Apple Store, which is why Apple Store is generally got fewer virus apps in it as opposed to say sometimes Android. But anyway. There we go. I used to buy texture paste from my local art store so I can mix it with sand and then prime and paint them on my models. Interesting. For texture lately, I've actually just been using GW stuff, like the textured kind of paint, but I put it on before I prime, so I don't care what color it's going to be because I'm really just more interested in the texture because I'm going to prime over it and then paint it later anyway. Yeah. I converted the Marines from Necron Labyrinth into a Deathwatch kill team. Also working on a mode that plays like an RPG. One player is the enemy and versus 4 players. Well, that's cool. See, I think it's cool when people just decide, you know what, I'm going to take this game and I'm going to modify it heavily because I want to do it that way and I want to play it that way. That's one of the things I love about tabletop gaming. Have you thought about using Game 4 for players to use to plan their online games? We did. When this all started, we sat down and said, okay, can we do this? Technically, yes. Monetarily, no. At the time, we were concerned that, we didn't know, like, the economy just sort of dropped out. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to stay in business. And because, again, Game 4 is not its own, it's a side thing that we do. The main business that we do at Milk Can is make basically apps and websites and stuff like that for other companies. So we weren't sure where the business was going to go, so we didn't think we could spend the time and the money to sit down and completely rejigger things to make it so that, oh, hey, now you can figure out how to schedule your tabletop simulator games on this, because again, also we didn't know, is this going to last 3 months? Are we going to spend a bunch of money, or is it going to last forever? Or who knows? And so it's been a thing. We've thought about it. It's something we thought about, and we kind of ran the cost benefit analysis and thought that it wasn't going to be something we wanted to do. But yeah, we're thinking about it. Well, we've thought about it. I don't know that it'll happen probably, but potentially, maybe going forward, if we do bring things back, we may decide to have some sort of like side section rather than just showing the games that are in your local area. That we could also maybe show games that are available, or people are looking for stuff to play online. For people who, because, honestly, those types of things, tabletop simulator and all that kind of stuff, still pretty useful even not in pandemic times, because sometimes you want to play a game with someone who lives on the other side of the country, and it's just not easy to do. So, when I first got into the hobby, I was getting started with the 40K magazine. The shipping was more than double the price. I found my local store, and I don't have to pay $20 shipping anymore. That's pretty good. Excuse me. With Corona still lurking, any plans on 2021 Expo, Tabletop Minions Expo? I mean, it's very unlikely that it'll be able to happen, it sounds like. I mean, unfortunately. So we'll probably end up trying to do it virtually again this year, and 2021. And hopefully I won't have crippling abdominal pains during we kind of had like a bit of a virtual Tabletop Minions online, or Tabletop Minions Expo this year back in June, but that whole weekend I was sick as a dog. And so basically the irregulars kind of just did their own thing, which was cool. And I was glad they were able to have a good time with it, but I would have liked to have been there. But so, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. From what I've been seeing from the CDC most recently, they're saying that maybe a vaccine or whatever will probably come out in third quarter 2021. So there's hard to say. Any scuttlebutt on Xenos Titans, Adeptus Titanicus, Orc Gargants, or Elder Titans? How about tanks? Is that game Horus Heresy? I don't remember if it's. I don't think it is. It's like 40K. It's not 30K, right? Because if it's 30K, then you'd think eventually they would bring in some of the other armies. Because right now it's just basically, it's just chaos versus non-chaos, right? I mean, like Imperium versus chaos. I played it once. I played a demo of it once, and I was like, oh, okay. But I didn't. It's, for some reason, that scale is not interesting to me. I don't know why. I think I got to be perfectly honest. Part of it is I've seen some people paint those miniatures, those little tiny like Warlord Titans, but make them look amazing, like a big one. And I'm just like, I don't know how you're doing that, and I don't know that I could do that at all, and I don't want to even try a little bit, because I got other stuff to. It's not like I'm just sitting here with twiddling my thumbs. I got plenty of things to work, so do I need another game system? No. But I did try it out, and the system, that's the other thing too, is that the game system itself I didn't completely, just didn't exactly do it for me. Man, this show is making cleaning my refrigerator fun. Well, is that a benefit? I guess that's okay. You're welcome. Let's see here. Hey, JP Got Rockets. Why hast thou summoned me? My pocket dimension languishes with not my presence. Oh, well, I don't even know. Let me see here. Yes, Vallejo has some good weathering paints. I find the mud and grass texture interesting for tank tracks and for basing around Nurgle models. Yeah, I think that, I swear I own some texture stuff from Vallejo. Comes like in a bigger kind of pot, if I remember correctly. I should look for that. Pull into shipping again. I recently got a package from Cromlech. Nice. Good to hear. AT is 30k Horsey Heresy. Horsey Heresy. Now I just see a bunch of horses running around with, I don't know, power armor on or whatever. GW were deliberately evasive when asked about Xeno Titans in Adeptus Titanicus at their Q&A at the UK Games Expo. Someone poured cold water on the idea in a Voxcast earlier this year, though. I don't know how well that game is selling. I don't know, like, they've brought Xenos into the airplane game. Adeptus Flyeronicus, whatever it is. I don't know. Adepticus... It's AI. What does the I stand for? No, it's not Adeptus. It's Aeronauticus Imperialis? Whatever. The flying around game. And there's orcs in that, right? I think. I'm pretty sure there's tiny little orc planes. I swear I've seen them. Unless it was a 3D print, I guess. Someone could have done that. So yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. You know what I should do is I should talk about today's subject. So, Hammerhall. This is the issue 456, White Dwarf, and it's got information about... Nope, right there. Cities of Sigmar and Warcry. And so, why am I interested in this, you may ask. You probably didn't, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I've never built or painted any, like, Bretonnians, Imperials, like any of that kind of stuff from Warhammer Fantasy. And I've always been vaguely interested in them. And now... Honestly, it's almost a little nostalgic because their models are kind of old. You know what I mean? But they are interesting. I think they have interesting faces. You know what I mean? At least that, for me, is interesting. Let me bring up this, and then let me do that, and let me do this. I'll scooch over here. All right. So, the thing about this... The thing about Cities of Sigmar is that other than the Start Collecting Anvil Guard and the Start Collecting Greywater Fastness, every other last thing... Oh, and the Sorceress, sorry. Almost every other last thing that is in this page has this little icon that I mentioned over here, the little red circle with the arrow in it. Well, except for the Eternal Guard and the Wildwood Rangers. Okay, so most, and the Wild Riders. Okay. Most of the stuff on this page has got that little icon. What that little icon means is, if I click on it, it says available to order. But what it is that you can only get that through the website. Your local store will not carry this stuff, basically. So, what that means is if you do want to play these guys, go back. If you want to play Cities of Sigmar in Warcry, then you're going to end up probably having to go and buy the stuff from the website. So that's what I did. And I decided I just wanted to be humans. I did not want dwarves or elves. I like dwarves. Elves, not a big fan of, so I guess that makes sense. So basically all I did was I bought a box of Free Guild Guard for $30. You get 10 dudes in there. That's a pretty good price. I bought a box of Free Guild Handgunners for $30. Which I think is also the same as the box of crossbowmen. I think that it's one of those kits where you basically, you either get one or the other. You know what I mean? You can build both. Like, it's the same kit, but you can either build crossbowmen or handgunners, but for whatever reason, they put both on the website. Probably so if you're looking for crossbowmen, like, if you go to the handgunners page here, it says down here, can alternatively be assembled as crossbowmen. Well, if that was the only place that it said crossbowmen and you were looking for crossbowmen, you'd be like, oh, they don't sell crossbowmen because you didn't bother to read one of the last sentences in the description of the handgunners. So I get why they do that. But I'm pretty sure it's the same kit. I don't know why I have to double back on everything. That's weird. All right, so I ordered, like I said, handgunners and guard, and that's like $60. And then I was like, I kind of want great swords, so I ordered them as well. Which seems like a lot for basically one army, but I think I'm going to be able to make actually multiple lists almost within this, for Warcry. So let me read you the menu. Okay, so there's a guild champion you can use as a hero. Problem is that there's no guild champion anywhere on this site that I can see. So it's a model that I don't think you can buy anymore. So I don't know how that's supposed to work out exactly. You could convert somebody and say that's the guild champion. I get it. There is a free guild sergeant that's also a leader, but the free guild sergeant comes in the box of guard. If you go into here, down here, it says this box can 10 multi-part free guild guard, which can be assembled with spears, halberds, or swords, and includes the option for a sergeant, standard bearer, or drummer. Now, man, I hope that these are plastic. I hope that these are plastic. I'm thinking they probably are, but they don't say plastic. Usually they'll say this set, blah, 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 plastic. They'll use the word plastic in there, and they aren't here, and it's making me a bit nervous. Also, there's no pictures of sprues. There's only pictures of dudes. So I hope that they're not, because if they're resin, I'm going to be sad. So, all right. So you got your guild champion, your free guild sergeant, marksman with repeater handgun, which I don't know where that would be. Maybe that's one of these dudes in this spot. There is a marksman in here, like this dude right in the middle with the gun on the tripod sort of thing. That is the marksman with long rifle. And he is also a leader. So the marksman with repeater handgun can be a leader, and so can the marksman with long rifle. So those are not all the leaders in this list, but that's the first 4 they lead with. Then there's free guild guard with sword and shield, free guild guard with spear, free guild guard with halberd, which are basically, I don't know why I have to double click to get to those to go back. Those are basically all the different ways you can build the free guild guard. You get lots of options here. You got your sword and shield type dudes like this. You got your halberd dudes like that. And you got your, looks like spear dudes like that, I guess. I don't know. So you got that going for you. Then there's also the free guild handgunner and the free guild crossbowman, which I mentioned earlier. There's the free guild greatsword, which is why I bought the greatsword set. Another benefit, though, honestly, to buying these, what kind of pushed me over, was because there's all these really cool, super neat banners and extra crap, which I'm just going to use as bits for other projects. The one box of these that I've ever owned is I bought a box of flagellants, like I don't know how long ago, and I've been using all the weird bits in that box in little weird kit bash projects for years. So this will be beneficial, in my opinion. Then we get into Dwarves, which is your Ironbeard with Drakefire Pistol and Cinder Blast Bomb, and that's also a leader. You've got your Iron Warden with Grudge Hammer Torpedo, also a leader. Then in the Dwarfs, you've got your Iron Breakers and your Iron Drakes. That's pretty much about it. You got your Wildwood Warden, which is also like a Dark Elf leader. You have a Captain of the Blackguard, also a leader. And then you have your Wildwood Ranger and your Blackguard, which are these dudes, again with the clicking twice. Blackguard, those guys are only available online. And your Wildwood Rangers, which I think you can get without having to go online. I swear I saw it. Shadow, Sisters, Executioners, Longbeards, Ironbreakers, Free Guilds, Phoenix Guard, Wildwood Rangers. Yep, those guys, you don't have that little icon, so you can just buy these dudes and go to town, I guess. If you were so... those models aren't terrible. I like the hoods. So, anyway, yeah, so that's kind of what they've done. And I definitely want to... Like, they got this free guild general, but that's not the guild champion. It's also not the picture they show. I guess it's close. I could probably just modify that guy if I wanted to, if I wanted to go with it. But I'm just going to go with the free guild sergeant. Or possibly a marksman with long rifle, depending on the kit that I want to... Or the group that I want to build. But, I mean... Looking through this, I don't feel like they're going to be super crazy powerful, to be honest with you. Though I know I've heard a lot of complaints from folks online about how the Age of Sigmar specific armies for Warcry are more powerful than the Warcry armies that came out, like the Iron Golems and the Corvid Cabal and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll see how that works out. But I am interested, definitely, like I said, in painting up these humans and going down that road and building myself a list. Like I said, I'm going to have Free Guild Sergeant will definitely be one of my leaders, and potentially Marksman with long rifle. No, long rifle will also be one. Here's the thing, and I'm looking for some advice potentially from folks out there who know more about the fluff than me. So Age of Sigmar happens after the end times, and it's about 1,000 years later, right? So, and you've got these 7 cities that have been floating around, being kind of away from things. Should these folks look real dark and grungy and slightly post-apocalyptic, or is all their stuff new and polished and everything? And just like it was, only it's been 1,000 years later and they've not gotten any more technologically advanced. Like, it seems weird to me when they brought out Cities of Sigmar that they were just like, oh, here you go. There's just these cities that just sort of like got spirited away when everything went to crap, and they're out just in the mortal realms somewhere. And they're fine. It's fine. It's fine. They got their own cities and they're doing their thing. And I'm like, yeah, but they look just like the models from 1,000 years ago. Like, nothing has changed. Like, they never even built scopes for their rifles or anything. Like, they didn't come up with a Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or anything. Like, they didn't even change their clothes. Like, they look exactly the same as they did 1,000 years ago when this was all, stuff that was happening in the old world, as it were. And I think it's interesting. So, that's why I'm not sure which way I want to paint them. Like, I kind of want to paint them sort of grungy, so like everything is like, this is, I don't know. But everyone says, well, people are saying it depends on the city. It's up to you. New and polished. See, that's interesting. Those cities are pretty clean and shiny. Like how? I want to know how these cities have not changed over 1,000 years. You know what I mean? Like, everything else got real weird as chaos kind of ran everything for 1,000 years, and the mortal realms exploded and got all separated. But these 7 cities are just like, yeah, no, it's fine. We're just going to sit here and not technologically advance at all, and also not get worse. We're just going to even keel it for 1,000 years. That seems weird. But yeah, Greywater Fastness is grungy. Living City is probably clean. Interesting. Well, this is technically Hammer Hall. So I guess, because that's one of the cities, evidently. And so maybe down the road, they'll decide to come up with another one of these things for another one of the cities. Will be interesting to see. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. Also, way more than 1,000 years. Really, I guess I haven't read a lot of the fluff for Age of Sigmar, to be fair. They hid in Azure with Sigmar. I'll have to do some research and look at it. Like, I don't 100% want to go buy the Battle Tome just to do the research, because that seems weird, but I don't know. I guess I could, but I don't. Anyway, it's weird because I'm not going to play a Age of Sigmar army with them, so that's one other reason why I don't want to buy the Battle Tome, but I am interested in finding out a little bit more before I start to get painting on these guys. And I definitely will be painting these folks when I get them. I'll build at least one list to start, and then I'll build and paint, and I'll probably be painting those guys on Twitch as well. But I'm looking forward to it. Again, none of them look real monstrous, although the Free Guild crossbowmen have got a 3 to 16 inch range, which I think is cool. I'm looking forward to that. Their crits aren't real good. Handgunners have got a 3 to 12 inch range. But they've got a stronger shot, I guess. So there's that. But yeah, so I'm going to definitely build some regular Free Guild Guard. And I kind of want to go Sword and Shield, frankly. Although, I don't know. That's what's cool also, too, is that I can build a couple of these and a couple of these and a couple of these, as opposed to the way that the old game was designed was like, pretty much everybody has to be all like this whole entire squad needs to be carrying the same weapon. You know what I mean? Now that being said, there's nothing in here for the musician or the banner carrier. Whereas with like the Rotbringers, the Nurgle dudes, there is a definite extra loadout for those, and they do something slightly different. They have benefits, but this one, yeah, there's no musician or banner carrier in the thing here. You know what I mean? But that's still cool, because then I can use those banners and stuff like that in other projects for fun. Roan asks, have you painted any Marvel Super Fun Lunchbox models, or is that something you may consider doing on Twitch? I have not as of yet. My local shop that I go to frequently recently has decided that he's going to start carrying a lot more of the Marvel stuff because he's been having a bunch of people coming in and asking about it, and people coming in and actually even playing. So he was only carrying the starter, but he's now going to go in, and it's interesting because he's old school 40k. He's been playing 40k forever, and he's got a decent amount of 40k stuff in his shop and everything. But he's also himself personally started getting into Star Wars Legion, and he's getting a group that's starting to actually play, and they come in and wear masks and all that stuff and everything. But they've been coming in and playing, and he's been working on his own Legion Rebel Army, and so that's kind of cool. And then so he's been carrying a lot of that stuff, and now he's starting to carry more of the Marvel stuff too because he's been having people come in and asking about it and all that. So that's kind of neat too. I do need to sit down and build those guys though if I want to go down that road, but I'm still a little concerned about the terrain, frankly, for that. These are new cities rebuilt after fighting chaos. All right, well that kind of makes sense. If they're dark and grimy, they'll match the old Mordheim aesthetic more, which, if memory serves, to me was a similar same sculpts. Yeah, that's true. Age of Sigmar humans evolved when they got crushed by chaos, then they rebuilt a bit, so it's scope to do whatever you want. The reason I'm asking partially is because I like the idea of painting these guys up and then using enamel washes on them to make them grungy and grimy, but to paint them up real quick. Though, to be fair, that wouldn't be interesting to watch on Twitch because I would be just painting them like no highlights, no washes, nothing, just block, fill in the blank colors. Then I'd have to, not on Twitch, put on the enamel wash and then wipe it off and all that stuff. And then after that, they're nearly done. So yeah, like I said, that's not that interesting on Twitch. So we'll figure that out though. I mean, I've got plenty of other things to paint on Twitch, but I was thinking it'd be fun to paint these guys. But if I want to make them with enamel washes, then I can't do that on Twitch because I can't. My airbrush room and my Twitch setup are on opposite sides of the basement, and it's just not a thing. So, but yeah. Let's see here. None of the cities existed in the old world. They're all new cities established in the mortal realms. Interesting. All right. There are not cities from the old world. Yep, gotcha. I think a small amount of the old world folks hid with Sigmar and Azir. Nice. I vote new and polished. It's a magic thing. Well, I can see magic, yeah. Magic, you definitely clean things with magic. 2+ tough will sort you out with lore from the different cities. I should check that out. Why would anyone eat paste? Why would anyone play humans? Same. I don't know. I've never painted them, and I always thought the models were cool early on, so I kind of wanted to give them a try. And the fact that I can do just a small number of them as opposed to an entire friggin' army is also a big benefit, at least to me. Regardless of what city they came from, being stuck in the Variant Spire, I would imagine they would be pretty grungy. Yeah, I'll have to look into it and figure it out. Because I could do it either way, but yeah, definitely. One guy at our store plays Marvel Lunchbox Rainbow and keeps trying to convert everyone. Well, I mean, that's just being a gaming advocate, in my opinion. That's a person who's like, look, I want more people to play this game, and so I'll try to get people involved. Now, obviously, if it's not a game that you're interested in, you can be like, hey, no, thank you, but I appreciate it. But I'm not against a person trying to get other people to play a game that they want to. Now, if they're too pushy about it or whatever, that's a different story altogether. But yeah, it's not a bad idea to, like, if there's some game that's out that nobody in your area plays, if you can, it behooves you to try to at least get two forces together, which is why skirmish games are easier for that versus, say, big army games. But get two forces together and then talk to your friends or go to the local shop and just try to get people to play. Give them a demo, something like that. You might convert, you might get some folks to be like, hey, that is very cool, I like that a lot. And then they buy some stuff, and now you've got some more people to play with. That's the way these things work. When you go to like a city or whatever that you've never been to before, and you go to the local game shop, you walk in, and everyone is playing War Machine. And then you're like, do you guys ever play 40K here? And they're like, no, man, just War Machine. And you're like, wow, that's surprising, because like nobody in my area plays War Machine. That's the way that these things sort of work. It's pockets of different, games, and very frequently it's because we like to call them instigators. Some people refer to them as alpha gamers. I'm not a big fan of that term, but like this, someone who's like, I like this, and I'm going to convince other people to play it, and that's how it happens. Because other people sometimes just are like, okay, sure, and maybe they follow it because they do and really enjoy it, and they've been introduced to it, and it's cool, or maybe they follow it because, well, I know there's a bunch of people starting to play, or at least some people starting to play, and so I'll try that out. It's it's interesting, like, when you go around to different cities and talk to people in different cities and find out what games are popular in different places. It's kind of interesting. Are you going to make an enamel wash video? Yes, eventually. I'm trying to figure out, again, because my airbrush room is a really tiny, weird Harry Potter bedroom underneath the stairs kind of a situation, trying to get camera setups and lighting in there is tricky. Also, there's an astounding amount of spider webs in there right now, so I have to clean it at first. There's that. I don't know what those spiders are doing in there. There's no bugs. I mean, I guess you might say, well, there's no bugs because there's so many spiders, but I'm like, there's not a lot of bugs that come into the basement, so I don't know what these spiders are trying to do. It's kind of like location, 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 right? Like, if you're a spider, go outside and put out a web. You will get bugs. Here in the basement, by my airbrush, probably not as many. I don't know. Does the city's roster include a lot of dwarves and elves? No. It includes 4 dwarfs. 2 leaders, the Ironbeard with Drakefire Pistol and Cinderblast Bomb, or the Iron Warden with Grudge Hammer Torpedo. Those are the 2 leaders you can get, and then the only 2 other dwarf units then are the Ironbreaker or the Iron Drake. So you would basically pick probably an Ironbeard with Drakefire Pistol and Cinderblast Bomb, and then a bunch of Ironbreakers, or an Iron Warden with Grudge Hammer Torpedo and a bunch of Iron Drakes. Or you could mix the Iron Drakes and the Iron Breakers together, totally up to you. As far as elves, you've got only 2 leaders, the Wildwood Warden and the Captain of the Blackguard. And then you have Wildwood Rangers and Blackguard. So that's basically it. It's a little bit more aimed, I guess, a bit towards humans because there's 4 different human leaders and then 6 different human non-leaders, except that, like, there's Free Guild Guard, there's 3 of them, and they're just weapon swaps. So there's one that's sword and shield, one that's spear, and one that's halberd. And then there's the Free Guild Greatsword, who are their own kind of thing, and then there's either the crossbowmen or the handgunners. So, again, a lot more to choose from than the Nurgle team, because the Nurgle team has basically only got the 2 models to choose from. But if you want to mix, if you want to have like some humans and some dwarves, that's cool, or some humans and some elves, or some dwarves and some elves, whatever, you can do that. But if you want to be like faction pure, well, then your choices are far more limited. Let's see here. Used to see a lot of War Machine in my area, but it never appealed to me. I played a little bit of 1.5 and 2, and then I stopped playing. That's about as far as I got. Let's see here. Why use enamel wash versus oil wash? I don't know. I've never used oil wash. But the enamel wash trick basically is to very simply paint your model. No layering, no highlighting, no washes, nothing. Just like block color, and then take some enamel wash, specifically like a streaking grime type enamel wash. Ammo by MIG is the brand. They make a streaking grime color, which is nice. And then you kind of put that into your airbrush, and then you spray it onto the model, just completely coat it. It's now brown. And let it sit for about 3 to 4 minutes, and then take an old t-shirt, and then you just start wiping it off, predominantly down, mostly, because then it wipes off in the top parts, which you get highlight, and it doesn't catch like the under parts as much, which stays shadow. And then it just looks really good very quickly. And then you can go back with some mineral spirits and maybe a really tiny little brush and just touch up some spots that you want to be cleaner. But yeah, you're kind of done. Throw some varnish over it and call it a day. I like it. I've also seen people also, like, once they do the enamel wash, then they'll go back and paint over a little bit with spots here and there if they want to, like, kind of tighten things up a little bit or whatever. But I've found, honestly, it's just an incredibly quick, fast way to do it. And I still really love the look of it, too. If you go back and look at my Instagram from, I don't know, a couple months back, I did a couple different Star Breach warbands, and they were all done in enamel washes, and they were super fast. So enamels probably also take a lot less time to dry. Oils will take a lot longer, so there's that too. Let's see here. Do you get a lot of dangerous spiders, or is it too cold? Like, the spiders in my basement are all just what, and I don't know if this is the technical actual term for them, but they're basically just daddy long legs. If you've ever seen, they're just like a tiny little body and really long, skinny, dumb legs that, I don't know, they seem they're harmless as far as I can tell. They're just, I just wish that they wouldn't leave. They would be totally bros if they would stop with the webs all over the place and stop pooping on my laptop. I would appreciate that. That would be cool. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, I guess we can get Black Widows up here, though I've never seen one, thankfully. Knock on wood. And I think we can also get Brown Recluse, which I've also never seen, thankfully. Knock on wood, lots, because those are super bad. But yeah, other than that, I mean, we don't get like tarantulas or anything like that. No. The spiders that are inside your spray hutch are probably the loser spiders. They couldn't get a good bug spot. It's a good point. I hadn't thought of it. Cities are primarily human settlements that have some elves and dwarves. That options make sense. I can get that. Let me see here. Any interest in Kings of War Armada? As a huge fan of Man of War, I'm pretty excited for it. Yeah, I've talked about it a little bit earlier. I wasn't a fan of Man of War. I mean, I wasn't like against it. I never played it, so I was like, eh. And I'm not really big into ship combat, but I think it'll be kind of cool if they can catch that niche. Initially, I was a bit worried because the ships were in resin, and I thought they were a lot bigger. But now I'm being told that they're actually a lot smaller. So a smaller thing in resin is like big pieces of resin have a tendency to warp more sometimes than small pieces of resin, for whatever reason. If you've ever built anything from Forge World, especially like a Fire Raptor, you would know that those can be a real pain in the butt to build because they will warp. But yes, if they're smaller resin, I'm not as worried about that anymore. But I still just don't see myself playing. I don't see myself really playing ship combat stuff. But I don't know. I'll take a look at a battle report certainly to see if it's maybe got a cool system to it. Recluse are no joke. Yeah, no, they are definitely not. I have seen pictures of, yeah, if they bite you, then you get a hole in your leg, basically, or whatever. So there's that. It's no good. Daddy longlegs are one of the most venomous spiders in existence, but their fangs are physically incapable of piercing human skin. I know I heard something about that, and I thought it had something to do with Mythbusters, but I can't remember if it was true or not. But I've heard that before. But it sounds terrible. I will make sure not to eat any of them. That sounds like it would be bad. Had a spider in my basement on Friday that challenged my Necron Triarch Stalker. I wonder which one won. Let's see. How is it different from any other washes? You mean enamel washes? Enamel washes go on like really opaque, but then if you wait and you catch them at the right time and they're not completely dry yet, when you wipe them away, it's a very different looking process. I could potentially, whoops, that's not the button I wanted to push. I could potentially go and try to find my Instagram, he said. Oh, good. All right. Yeah. So let me push this button and push this button. And there you go. So, where are they? Here. Well, these are videos, which are slightly less helpful. And the lighting is maybe not. But yeah, these were very simple jobs with the what do you call it? The enamel wash put over the top. Let me show you a slightly better picture. Here we go. So these are just two regular Assault on Blackreach Space Marines, and this is before the enamel wash. This is just very simple block paint. This is slightly more, like I did a little bit of, sepia wash over the, and a little bit of this, that, and the other thing. So just to show you a little bit. Also, I did some dry brush of bright green over the top. This is just regular green, like kind of all, whatever. Dark Angel green. Everything is just a single layer block painted, nothing fancy. And that's not the button I want to push. This is the button I wanted to push. And that's the backside, okay? And then this is after the enamel wash and then wiping it off. So, like, you could look at the chest here, like, it looks like it's been thrown a nice wash in there to bring out the details, but it's been wiped away and all that stuff. And it works really well, and it's a super fast process that can get you models that look... like if you compare this simple model here to the simple model here, it makes them look. I mean, admittedly, it's a grungier kind of battle-worn look, but I really like the look of it. It's got a definite kind of brown, grungy sort of Blanchitsu look to it. The downside is you can't do tons of them at once. You can't be like, cool, I'm going to get my entire model to this simple point. Whoops, wrong friggin'. Well, these guys, I did that too. So like, yeah, this is what they look like before, just very simple colors, and then this is them afterwards, and this is them after the spray, and then after it's been wiped off. Here's these two models. This is a Van Sar, and this is a modified AdMech, and this is what they look like after the enamel wash. You just spray it on nice and thick. Not thick, just spray it on so it looks like they're basically all brown. You wait about 3 to 4 minutes, and then you wipe it off. Now here's the deal. You wait to 3 to 4 minutes and then wipe it off, which is why you can't do 10 of them at a time. Because if you do 10 of them at a time, if you start wiping off the first couple, by the time you get to the 10th one, that guy's been there probably 10 minutes, if not longer. And now at that point, those enamel washes will probably be dried down and they won't be able to be rubbed off as easily or at all. So there's that. That's also a problem. It's just it's a fun technique that I enjoy, but it's better suited for skirmish games, not big army stuff. But it's still speedy. Anyway, so yeah, that's that. Let me push this button and go back to here. So yeah. Yeah, totally. Matt, you should definitely... Matt and I have been playing some video games, Vermintide, so it's Warhammer video games. We've been playing a little bit of that. Matt's been working with a local tabletop gaming convention called Dragonfall, and they're raising money for Extra Life and for Child's Play, I believe, the two charities. So anyway, yeah, Matt and I have been playing some of those online, and we've been also, I think that VJ Morph's been doing the editing, I think, if I remember correctly. Carson82 asked, do you still have a P.O. box for Tabletop Minions? Yes, I do. If you go to the Tabletop Minions YouTube channel, there's a tab that's like, there's a bunch of different tabs, like home, playlists, video. There's an About tab. If you go there, it has the P.O. box there. The reason I'm sending there is because off the top of my head, I cannot remember the address. I can remember the number. It's number 331. Yeah, 331, but I can't remember the address off the top of my head. But if you go to that, just the channel, it's got that information in there. Let's see here. Hey, Adam, check out 2+ Tough Age of Sigmar lore. Yeah, I probably should. I don't usually check out lore videos and stuff like that much because I kind of frequently don't care. But if I just want to find out a bit more about how I ought to paint these guys, I could see the benefit to that. Excuse me. People talking about spiders. True Daddy Longlegs live in moist, dark places and eat mostly decomposing vegetable and animal matter. I hope I don't have any decomposing vegetable or animal matter in my basement. I guess I might. I think I left some cookies down there at one point, but that's about it. Not for that long. So yeah, what is an airbrush-only method that you can do this without one? I don't know if I quite understand the question. Oh, is that an airbrush-only method, or can you do... I got you. Okay, yeah, I read it wrong. That's not your fault. That's my fault. I want to try doing the enamel washes with a brush and see if it can be done. That's also another thing I'm kind of waiting for on that video, is I need to find the time to sit down and try it with a brush, because it's not that I don't want to make a video about something that you can't do without an airbrush. It's just that I want to know if it is something you can do with a brush, then I want to be able to tell people that too, for folks who don't have an airbrush or don't have any plans to get one. So yeah, there's that. Let's see here. The fact that this is for Warcry means grungy makes sense anyway. Yeah, I can understand that. Definitely. I used to use Call of Cthulhu scenarios for Shadowrun. It was a lot of fun back in the ancient days. Oh, the ancient days. I played Shadowrun just after college. I was living with these two other dudes, and they were still in college, but I was done, and I was working at a printing company. Well, no. Technically, it's a company that made plates for printing, but it's a long story. Anyway, printing company's close enough. I worked in the art department, and yeah, on Sundays we would play Shadowrun, and I would eat those really big pretzels, not the soft ones, but the ones you get at the grocery store. Sorry, clank the mic again. The ones you get at the grocery store that are like this big and they're super hard. Schneiders of Hanover or whatever. But I would get the kind that didn't have any salt on them, and then I would dunk them in brown mustard, and I'd be chewing on those, and we'd be drinking beers and playing Shadowrun. It was a good time. So many six-siders, though. So many six-siders. I brush on my oil washes. You can do some really cool things by faking or taking advantage of the capillary action with a white spirit to really target recesses. Yeah, the oil washes are really, especially for panel lines and stuff like that, they're really good. And the enamel washes have that benefit of they dry really quickly, and so then you get that kind of wiping away effect that looks really cool. That's what I like. Watched a stream the other day where they were doing the enamel wash thing and used some sort of spirits to reactivate the enamel. Once you've got it kind of dried down a little bit more, after you've wiped away the enamel, you can go back. I will go back sometimes with a really small brush, synthetic, and some mineral spirits. And I will go back to just clean up little areas that, like, either I couldn't reach very well with the t-shirt wiping it off, or I just decided I want, like, the lenses on his eyes to be brighter, for whatever reason. I could go back later on and paint over him again, but if I didn't want to do that, you can go back and touch up stuff like that. You'll see some people try to use Q-tips, little cotton earbud things, but those, I find frequently that they just fuzz up real bad, real quickly. I did buy some fancy ones that are designed for electronics on Amazon. Bought a bag of like 300 of them for like $6, and they're like really super tight little kind of Q-tips that come to like a bullet point, and those work okay, but I just use a brush most of the time now that I have kind of set aside just for cleaning up enamel stuff like that. I don't know that a Warhammer player can comment on Shadowrun's quantity of six-siders. Well, I'm just saying within RPGs, that was a lot of six-siders. But yeah, within 40k, nothing. Especially if you're an orc player, cripes. But yeah, amongst RPGs, that was a lot of six-siders. Oh, geez, it's 11. Gosh, I'm just yammering on here. So anyway, I appreciate people coming by, and thanks a lot. And I hope that if I do get to the point where I decide to throw these guys up on Twitch while I'm working on them over here, the Warcry Free Guild dudes for Hammer Hall, I hope that maybe you guys can come by and check it out. When I do, again, I'm on Twitch at twitch.tv/tabletopminions Monday nights at 7 p.m., Fridays at 10 a.m. Central. Both of those are Central Time. But I'm also here I'm making my videos still every Friday morning, obviously, on YouTube, and I'm still doing the Every Other Sunday show, and got the Patreon and the Discord and all that kind of stuff. I'm keeping busy when not going anywhere right now, like most of us. So, again, thanks a lot, and I hope everyone's doing well and keeping safe, and staying sane, and keep painting, keep building, and thanks for watching. I appreciate it.